Hi there everyone, welcome to the album review channel. I'm looking at Nursery Cryme today as I continue to review the catalogue of Genesis albums in this particular video. Following on from their first album From Genesis to Revelation in 1969, the one that pop impresario Jonathan King took on board with the band and tried to make it a pop-inspired opening album. They then released Trespass in 1970, where the band began to hone their progressive sounds. So much better, but with Anthony Phillips struggling with stress-related issues, and John Mayhew not really fitting the sound of the band's developing style, two new members were appointed. Steve Hackett and Phil Collins joined along with Peter Gabriel, Mike Rutherford and Tony Banks, and these formed the nucleus of the amazing successful progression into a top prog rock band. So Nursery Cryme was released, and as I've said in previous reviews for the band, that very first track following a change in personnel is critical. And in the musical box, the band opened the album with what was going to be one of their top 5 pieces from all of their songs from the whole of their career. So it is an amazing opening song. For those that don't know, the subject of the lyrics is an attempted non-consensual sexual encounter. And you may well be horrified. However, it is a subject matter that was written about in a sophisticated manner from the pen of Peter Gabriel and allowed him to express his theatrical tendencies to perfection when this song was performed live with undoubtable credibility. This song was the inspiration for Paul Whitehead's album cover that became so iconic during this time. He said, "One of the tracks I certainly heard was the musical box, and it was from there that I came up with the idea of using an Alice in Wonderland theme for the cover. It fitted in with the Old England lyrical approach. But the problem we had was that the band wanted it to look like a very old painting. So when I showed them my original artwork, they all said that it didn't look old enough. They wanted it to look like it came from the Victorian era. So I varnished the canvas with old honey, and that seemed to do the trick. It now had that 19th century feel to it. But there was another problem. When it was sent off to be printed, the first proof, which had come back, had given the painting like a yellow hue, which wasn't really supposed to be there. However, we all liked it so much that it was decided to stick with this. Steve Hackett shines on his debut with some excellent solos and riffs within the piece, and immediately demonstrated the asset he became to the group. This was where he debuted his tapping technique that he still maintains he created. The second track, called For Absent Friends, was the opportunity to give the new boy a chance to sing, and in many respects, this short, quiet filler is the necessary calmness between that first track and the third track, which we'll come on to in a minute. And Phil sings it really nicely. Hackett wrote the melody, and he and Collins combined to compose the lyrics, with the whole project being based loosely on Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. I didn't know that. It's about two lady friends reminiscing about the loss of their respective husbands. It's about sadness and fondness, whilst musically, it's a lovely and balanced acoustic piece. Now, there is a blistering, angry synthesizer introduction to the return of the Giant Hogweed that blows away that gentleness of Phil's previous song. And whilst the lyrics focus on this plant establishing and taking over gardens, it is easy to see that the underlying storytelling theme of the idea a threatening and dominant force overpowering its surroundings, offering a narrative that combines elements of fantasy with the potential danger of unchecked growth and dominance in nature. As Peter begins to sing, it continues to proceed in that awkward and disjointed manner that the song portrays. His vocals growl out the words, echoing the force this plant exerted as it took over the flora and fauna. Banks plays a simple organ to accompany the vocals, whilst Hackett adds a disjointed and slightly menacing-sounding guitar. Just underneath this, there's a calm and middle-eight section which Peter explains how the plant got here before switching back to a further verse on its impending domination. A crazy solo follows for a couple of minutes, part of which is a gorgeous piano section from Tony, before Steve adds his heavily distorted guitar to the proceedings. There's a small reprise of the lyrics before an almighty play-out to end with extra percussion added by Gabriel that you can hear quite clearly. What I enjoy most about Seven Stones, the next track, is the use of the mellotron as well as the flute. This is so sadly missed once Peter departed. It's wonderfully mystic and a floaty piece that is a hidden gem on the album. The lyrics are about a set of scenarios centred around a meeting with a man possessing some strange wisdom. The first part of the tale is about a tinker looking for some shelter from a storm, finding 7 stones in the ground underneath a pile of leaves. And trying the 7th house, he finds somewhere to stay. The reference to changes of no consequence refer that fate may not have an explanation for this one. The second is the captain of a ship lost at sea, who notices a seagull and steers the ship after that bird to safety for no apparent reason. There was no logic to it. This indicates following your hunch can often pay off with no real reason to support this course of action. We've all had those feelings. The chorus explains that the old man found amusement in the world's troubles. The line, "The old man's guide is chance," supports this ideal. The last verse shines a slightly different take on the ditty, as a farmer asks him when to sow his crops, and this time the old man takes his money and disappears with it all, suggesting that every hunch will go to plan. I quite like this as an ending. It's a very clever little song and has a lovely instrumental break featuring Banks and Gabriel, and another for the outro with Banks and Hackett. Harold the Barrel is next, and this one featured in a recent episode of my Genesis comedy song series, and is a lovely whimsical track. It's about a man called Harold, not surprisingly, who was literally falling to pieces, and as things are coming to a head, the tale gets told from a number of different perspectives. It gets told from a reporter, the council, the man from the BBC, his mother, and to a point where he jumps from a high-rise building, sadly, to his death. I will link that video above on screen for you now to have a look at. Harlequin is a mainly Rutherford composition, but had some input from Anthony Phillips before he left the band. Mike played 2 guitar parts on 1 12-string and didn't really much like the result, as well as not really being happy with the lyrics. Heavily harmonised vocals tell of daylight fading towards the end of summer, where the comparisons between the changing seasons is vividly described. This theme has developed more as the song tells that the crop for that year has now been harvested, with the Harlequin seen dancing playfully amongst children as bonfires are lit. The chorus talks of the light of the dawn focusing dim vision into possibilities of the whole process being clearer and repeated again the year after. The Fountain of Salmakis closes the album and is a gorgeous track, strong on mellotron from Banks and guitar from Hackett once again. The music is breathtaking throughout, with Collins playing some very progressive drum fills and featuring elaborate instrumentation, complex arrangements, and shifts in tempo, encapsulating the band's progressive rock style. The lyrics draw inspiration from Greek mythology, telling the story of Hermaphroditus and Salmakis. It explores themes of transformation and the merging of genders. Now, in the myth, Salmakis sees Hermaphroditus bathing in her fountain and falls in love with him. She embraces him and prays to the gods to be united with him forever. The gods heard the prayer, but merged their bodies together, transforming Hermaphroditus into an androgynous being. As a result, Hermaphroditus cursed the Salmakis fountain. Any man who drank or bathed in its water would also become androgynous. In the song, this narrative unfolds as Salmakis' infatuation becomes her undoing. She merges that identity with Hermaphroditus, resulting in this inseparable fusion of their bodies and souls. The song is an epic 8-minute-long piece that beautifully captures this tragic tale and is a superb end to the album. What you had here with Nursery Cryme was the completion of the band jigsaw that saw a top-class drummer and lead guitarist join the band to take them to the next level. From the beginnings of the sound being formed with Trespass, this very quickly became the finished product and put the band into prog rock royalty, in my opinion. and lasted until after the tour of The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway had finished. Even then it was so strong that survival continued really until Hackett left after completing Wind and Wuthering. This album, with 3 big classics and 4 shorter but yet equally important tracks, made it a near masterpiece in my opinion. Greater highs were yet to come, but this is a mighty fine piece of work that deserves all the plaudits it has earned over the years. Leave your thoughts and comments below and I'll be sure to get to read them all. If you found this video interesting, please like the video and also check the description box to buy the album or find out ways to support the channel. Thanks for watching this one and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.